center of the inquiry. The section of her testimony describing this investigation is brief but filled with emotional intensity, reflecting the profound impact it had on her. Teresita was brought to the hospital of the University of Santo Tomas in Manila, where she faced intense questioning by a psychiatrist and a Dominican psychologist, Reverend Father Blas. These sessions were described as relentless and intimidating. Father Blas introduced himself as the devil's advocate, making it clear that his role was to challenge her claims vigorously. The atmosphere during these interrogations was hostile, and Teresita felt a deep sense of fear and anxiety. At one point during the questioning, Father Blas demanded that Teresita sign a statement admitting that the apparitions were merely products of her imagination. Teresita refused to comply, which angered Father Blas. The following day, when she was summoned back, Teresita remained resolute in her refusal. This led to a notorious incident where Father Blas, in a fit of rage, threw a crystal ashtray at her. Teresita managed to dodge it, and the ashtray shattered against the wall. Father Blas then crumpled the document and threw it into the garbage, storming out of the room. After the investigation concluded and the negative verdict was released, Teresita voluntarily left the Carmel upon the recommendation of Mamer, the Mother Superior. Mamer advised her that it was better to leave voluntarily, as she would be asked to leave regardless, but resignation would at least leave open the possibility of returning, a possibility that never materialized. Upon returning to her parents' home in Tanawan, Teresita sought to inform the Papal Nuncio of her departure from the convent. She visited His Excellency Monsignor Vagnosi, but the meeting was far from cordial. The nuncio, upon seeing her, angrily shouted, "Get out of my house, you little devil." Teresita, shaken and weak, tried to kneel for his blessing, but he refused and continued to shout at her until she left. This harsh rejection left her questioning why she was being blamed for the apparitions, which she had neither desired nor fabricated. The investigation left Teresita deeply scarred. She described the fear she felt during her interrogation by the psychologist, stating she was even more terrified than when she first saw the devil's face. The hostility from church authorities, who she felt should have been her protectors, compounded her sense of isolation and betrayal. This fear extended beyond the investigation, leaving her wary of priests and church officials. Within the convent, the atmosphere shifted dramatically. The once celebrated events became taboo subjects. The nuns were instructed to destroy any physical evidence related to the apparitions, including the rose petals. Devotional items such as statues and images of Mary Mediatrix were hidden or removed. The Mother Prioress and other key figures who had supported Teresita faced pressure to conform to the church's decree. Externally, the church sought to discredit the events through public statements and sermons. Church leaders preached that there was no truth to the miracles, urging the faithful to cease their pilgrimages to Lipa and discontinue their devotion to Mary Mediatrix. The images of Mary that had become central to the devotions was ordered to be removed, and the faithful were discouraged from believing in the reported miracles. The church suppression efforts extend beyond the convent walls. Devotees who had experienced or believed in the miracles faced a difficult choice: adhere to the church's decree or continue their private devotion at the risk of ecclesiastical censure. Many, particularly those who had witnessed the events or experienced miracles firsthand, struggled with the church's stance but ultimately complied to avoid spiritual consequences. Following the negative decree, the church took strict measures to suppress further discussion and devotion in the events at Lipa. The Carmelite nuns, including Teresita Castillo and those who supported her, were ordered to remain silent about the apparitions and the miraculous petals. They were warned that continuing to speak about these events or promoting devotion to Mary Mediatrix would be considered a grave sin, risking severe spiritual and ecclesiastical consequences. Almost 30 years after the church's negative decree on Lipa apparitions, the case found new life thanks to the persistent efforts of Francisco Di Chanco, affectionately known as Ca Paco, as a young architecture student in Manila during the 1948 events. Capaco had visited the Lipa Carmel Monastery several times but never witnessed the miraculous showers himself. Initially, he maintained a neutral stance regarding the apparitions and the showers of petals, neither dismissing them nor fully believing in them. The turning point for Capaco came in 1975 following the death of Mother Albert, a former prioress of Lipa Carmel. Mother Albert had served as prioress for 9 years, starting in 1958, and had played a significant role in the monastery's development. After her tenure in Lipa, she helped found the Carmelite monastery in San Pablo, Laguna, where Capaco lived. When she passed away, Capaco asked a Carmelite sister if there were any religious objects left behind by Mother Albert. He was given a rose petal encased in plastic with a note indicating it was from the 1949 shower. This moment rekindled Capaco's interest in the Lipa events. Intrigued by the petal and seeking the truth, Capaco began to inquire about the Lipa events from various Carmelite sisters. Initially met with silence, his persistence eventually paid off when he found a former Carmelite nun willing to share her experiences from the time of the apparitions and showers. This conversation ignited an epic quest to reopen the case, involving numerous religious and lay people both in the Philippines and abroad. Capaco meticulously documented his efforts in a diary detailing every meeting, letter, and piece of evidence related to the Lipa apparitions from 1982. This diary serves as a counterpoint to Teresita's personal testimony, providing insight into the bureaucratic and social maneuvers required to bring the case back into the public and ecclesiastical spotlight. Throughout his pursuit, Capaco learned to navigate the complex channels of the Catholic hierarchy. He sought the counsel of sympathetic local bishops and used their support to gain access to higher authorities. For those less inclined to reopen the case, he strategically provided them opportunities to defer and mutter up the chain of command, even reaching out to the apostolic delegate from the Vatican. In addition to his behind-the-scenes efforts, Capaco also created a public face for his mission. He founded the Marian Research Center, or MRC, as a hub for correspondence and evidence collection. One of its projects was a poll to gauge interest and belief in the Lipa apparitions. He engaged with the press to craft and control the narrative, ensuring that the story of Mary's apparitions remained in the public. Despite his dedication, Capaco faced significant personal and spiritual challenges. His diary recounts the ordeal of his adoptive grandson, John Paul, who suffered from an aggressive cancer. This personal trial nearly led Capaco to abandon his work, but he persevered, believing that his suffering was a form of purification that John Paul's spirit could assist from heaven. The revival of the Lipa case in 1980s and 1990s was marked by a delicate balance between secrecy and exposure. Key interventions and careful management of public discourse played crucial roles in rekindling interest and support. By 1988, the MRC had garnered enough support to prompt Archbishop Mariano Gaviola of Lipa to reconsider the case. Although Gaviola initially vacillated on reopening the investigation, he eventually consented to the public exposition of the original image of Mary Mediatrix on the occasion of the death of Sister Alphonse, a nun who had witnessed the petals. The efforts of Capaco and his supporters led to a significant moment in 1990 when Archbishop Gaviola allowed the public display of the original statue of Mary Mediatrix. This event marked a turning point, symbolizing a cautious yet hopeful step towards recognizing the miraculous events of Lipa. In 2009, Archbishop Ramon Arguelles, the new Archbishop of Lipa, issued a statement reversing the 1951 decree, allowing the public veneration of Mary Mediatrix and establishing a new commission to review the documents and investigate further. Although Arguelles later clarified that this reversal did not imply official recognition of the supernatural nature of the apparitions, it nonetheless rekindled hope among the devotees. The story of the Lipa apparitions and the miraculous shower of rose petals is more than just a historical event. It is a testament to the profound faith and spiritual resilience that characterize Filipino Catholicism. From the serene sacred moments of divine encounter to the intense scrutiny and controversy that followed, the events at Lipa continue to inspire awe and devotion. Even today, the tale of Teresita Castillo and the divine messages she received resonates deeply within the hearts of the faithful. It challenges us to reflect on the nature of faith, the mysteries that transcend human understanding, and the enduring power of hope and belief. Teresita Castillo's unwavering faith, despite relentless questioning and dismissal, invites us to ponder the strength and resilience of personal belief. Her experiences challenge us to consider how we too respond when our convictions are tested. In a world often defined by tangible evidence and rational explanations, the story of Lipa reminds us of the unseen and the unexplainable, urging us to hold space for mystery and wonder. The Church's initial suppression of the Lipa events highlights the tension between institutional authority and individual spiritual experiences. It forces us to ask, how do we reconcile the structures of faith with the spontaneous, often inexplicable nature of divine encounters? The persistence of belief among the faithful, even when faced with official denial, speaks to a deeper truth that faith often thrives in the margins, in whispered prayers and quiet acts of devotion. Reflecting on the Lipa apparitions, we see a narrative that transcends the specifics of time and place, touching on universal themes of hope, resilience, and the quest for meaning. It challenges us to look beyond the surface, to embrace the complexities of belief, and to acknowledge the sacred within the ordinary. In this story, we find a powerful reminder that true faith endures, not because it is always affirmed, but because it finds strength even in the face of doubt and denial. As we contemplate the legacy of Lipa, we are called to a deeper reflection on our own spiritual journeys. Let us be inspired by the unwavering faith of those who came before us, and let us carry forward the light of belief, even when it flickers in the winds of skepticism. For in the end, it is the enduring faith, this steadfast belief in the face of adversity, that truly connects us to the divine and to one another. This episode is inspired by the book Mother Figured, Marian Apparitions and the Making of a Filipino Universal by Deirdre de la Cruz. Please note that the views expressed in this podcast are for educational and entertainment purposes and do not reflect official church positions. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, rate, and leave a review on your favorite listening platform. Remember, the truth is out there, sometimes in the most unexpected places. Stay weird, stay curious, and stay tuned for more on LilWeird Podcast. Thanks for listening.